The airlock hissed open, and Commander Derek Kane stumbled through, his dress uniform still drenched in champagne. The entire diplomatic gallery had watched Admiral Victoria Cross dump her glass over his head. Not spilled, dumped deliberately, in front of 17 alien species and every human officer above the Mars line. Reckless, unfit for command. Her words still echoed in his skull. 3 hours ago, he'd saved her flagship, pushed his corvette between the Valkyrian dreadnought and her vessel, shields screaming, hull buckling, bought her the 8 seconds she needed to complete the jump sequence. His crew nearly died, two still might. She'd called it showboating. The medal ceremony turned execution. She'd listed every regulation he'd broken, every protocol he'd ignored, every order he'd bent into origami, while somehow keeping his crew breathing. The aliens chittered and hummed. The humans stood frozen. And Victoria Cross, humanity's golden admiral, the woman who'd negotiated peace with 6 species, made him look like a liability. His quarters aboard Station Garrison, 7 were cold. He peeled off the soaked jacket and threw it against the wall. Tomorrow he'd face the review board. Tomorrow his career ended. The comm panel blinked. 0247 hours. He ignored it. It blinked again. Private channel, priority alpha. He slammed the accept button. What? Victoria Cross filled the screen. No dress uniform now. Combat fatigues. Her hair loose. Behind her, red emergency lighting pulsed. I need you. Her voice was ice and iron. Now. Derek's jaw clenched. Find another circus act, Admiral. The Belcara are moving. Full fleet. They're not negotiating anymore. She leaned closer. They took my humiliation of you as weakness. They think I've lost my edge, that I'm turning soft on aggressive tactics. Diplomatic channels just went dark. I have 18 ships, and they're bringing 200. Not my problem. Humanity's survival is absolutely your problem, Commander. Her eyes burned. I destroyed you in public because I needed the Belcara to think we were divided, weak, complacent. They've been planning this assault for months. Tonight's ceremony forced their hand early, before their full armada could assemble. Derek's blood went cold. You're the best combat pilot I've ever seen. You think 3 steps ahead of physics and 5 ahead of your enemy. I need that brain. I need those instincts. She paused. I need you to lead the vanguard. You called me unfit for command. I called you what I needed to call you. Victoria's voice dropped. Docking Bay 7, your corvette's fueled. Crew's been recalled. You have 10 minutes to decide if your pride matters more than your species. The screen went black. Derek stood motionless. His reflection stared back from the dark panel. Champagne still matted his hair. 9 minutes now. He grabbed his flight jacket and ran. Docking Bay 7 was chaos. Crew members sprinted across the deck, loading ordnance pods and fuel cells into ships that should have been in maintenance cycles. Derek's corvette, the Reaper's Edge, sat in her berth with fresh scorch marks still visible from the previous engagement. Lieutenant Frank Morrison spotted him first. Skipper. His navigator's face split into a grin. Heard you were persona non grata? Heard wrong. Derek vaulted up the access ladder. Status: 70% fuel, 80% munitions, 90% spite. Frank followed him into the cramped bridge. Admiral Cross's people pulled our repair schedule, said we're flying hot. The rest of his crew filtered in. Weapons Officer Amanda Pierce, her arm still in a sling from 3 hours ago. Engineer Kyle Harper, moving stiff from cracked ribs. Communication Specialist Nina Valdez, exhaustion carved into her face. They'd all watched the ceremony, all seen their captain humiliated. Not one questioned why they were here. Derek dropped into the command chair. Valkaran fleet incoming. Numbers unknown but substantial. We're Vanguard. Vanguard for what? Amanda asked. Whatever plan the Admiral hasn't told me yet. Derek's fingers flew across the navigation console. Plot a course to intersect Vector 77 Mark III. Kyle, I need every ounce of speed those engines can give without exploding. Engines can give plenty without exploding, Kyle said. It's the hull I'm worried about. The bay's massive doors ground open. Beyond them, space stretched infinite and cold. And somewhere in that darkness, 200 Valkyrian warships were burning toward human territory. Derek's comm crackled. Victoria Cross again, but this time on the command frequency. Every ship could hear. All vessels, this is Admiral Cross. Valkyrian forces have crossed the neutral zone. They believe our diplomatic posture indicates weakness. They believe our internal conflicts have made us vulnerable. They believe humans will scatter when faced with overwhelming force. Derek guided the Reaper's Edge through the bay doors. 15 other ships followed. Mismatched corvettes and frigates pulled from patrol duty and repair schedules. Behind them, Victoria's flagship, the Valiant, powered up with aching slowness. Capital ships needed time. Time they didn't have. Vanguard elements will engage the enemy forward screen, Victoria continued. Your objective is not victory. Your objective is to make them bleed for every meter. Make them cautious, make them slow. Buy the battle group 20 minutes to reach firing position, 20 minutes against 200 ships. Commander Kane will have tactical command of Vanguard operations. Victoria's voice hardened. All vessels will follow his orders without question. He is authorized to execute any maneuver necessary for mission success. Frank whistled low. She just gave you carte blanche. She gave us a suicide mission with authority. Derek pulled up the sensor display. Nina, what's our enemy composition? Scanning now. I'm reading. Oh hell. Contacts at maximum range. 47, no. 63, they keep coming. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyer screens. Skipper, this is a full invasion fleet. The other Vanguard ships spread into loose formation around the Reaper's Edge. 16 vessels against an armada. Derek studied the tactical plot, his mind racing through scenarios and discarding them just as fast. Traditional engagement? Slaughter. Hit and run? Insufficient damage. Defensive screen? They'd be overwhelmed in minutes. Then he saw it. The Valkyrian fleet was arranged in a tight spearhead formation, maximizing forward firepower but limiting maneuverability. They expected humans to retreat or hold position. They expected predictable tactics. All Vanguard ships, this is Kane. New formation. We're going straight down their throat. Silence on the comm. Then Commander Lisa Grant from the frigate Thunderhead. Say again. Straight at them? Straight at them, maximum burn. We're going to punch through their formation and engage from inside their firing solution. Derek's hands moved across the controls. They're built for long-range bombardment. We get close enough and half their weapons can't track us. The other half will turn us into debris, someone muttered. Only if we're predictable. Derek felt the familiar calm settle over him. The clarity that came when death was certain, but the path forward was clear. Amanda, prepare torpedo spread. Pattern Delta 9. Kyle, when I give the word, I need emergency power to forward shields, even if it means pulling from life support. Even if, especially if. The Valkaran fleet loomed larger on sensors. Energy signatures spiked as their weapons powered up. In 2 minutes, they'd be in firing range. Derek opened a private channel to Victoria's flagship. Admiral, we're committed. Don't waste what we buy you. Her response came instantly. I won't. And, Commander? You were never unfit for command. You were exactly what I needed you to be. The channel closed. All ships, Derek said, follow my lead and burn bright. The Belkarin fleet opened fire at maximum range. Energy beams cut through space like crimson threads, each one capable of vaporizing a corvette. Derek watched the trajectories, his mind calculating vectors faster than the computer. Break formation, scatter pattern Whiskey 4, reconverge on my mark. He threw the Reaper's Edge into a spiraling dive that pulled 4 gravities. Behind him, Amanda grunted against the pressure. 16 human ships scattered like startled birds. The Belkarin beams sliced through empty space where they'd been heartbeats before. They're adjusting targeting algorithms, Nina reported. Next volley in 15 seconds. Won't matter. Derek pulled hard starboard, then dropped ventral. All ships, execute random evasion. No patterns. Make them guess. The Vanguard danced through the killing field. Corvette Banshee lost her port engine to a glancing hit but kept flying. Frigate Warhawk took a direct strike on her shields and went dark for 3 seconds before power restored. They were still 30,000 kilometers out. Still too far. Torpedo range in 40 seconds, Amanda said. If we last that long. Derek's eyes fixed on the enemy formation. The Belkarin spearhead maintained rigid discipline, each ship locked in precise formation. Beautiful, deadly, predictable. All Vanguard ships prepare for synchronized strike. Amanda, target the lead dreadnought. Everyone else picks targets on my designation. He highlighted 9 ships on the tactical display. Fire everything on my mark. Then emergency thrust dorsal. We're going over them, not through them.
Over? Frank's voice climbed an octave.
Skipper, their point defense will shred us at that range. Only if they're shooting at us. Derek smiled coldly. They won't be. The distance closed. 20,000 kilometers. 15. The Velkaran weapons recharged for another volley. Mark. 64 torpedoes launched simultaneously. Brilliant streaks of human defiance against impossible odds. The Velkarin point defense systems activated instantly, tracking the incoming warheads. Beam weapons pivoted, locked, fired, and the human ships punched their engines and climbed. The Velkaran had one critical flaw in their formation. Overlapping fire arcs. Every point defense system was designed to protect the ship it was mounted on. When all their sensors locked onto the torpedo swarm below, their weapons automatically adjusted downward. The human Vanguard roared over the enemy fleet with less than 200 meters clearance. Now, Derek yelled. Ventral guns, full auto, pick your targets. 16 ships opened fire straight down into the Velkaran formation. At point-blank range, there was no missing. Railgun slugs punched through shield generators, laser batteries carved into exposed sensor arrays. Missile pods dumped their loads onto hull plating never meant to take direct hits. The lead dreadnought's bridge exploded in a cascade of atmosphere and bodies. 2 cruisers collided trying to evade, their shields interfering and overloading. A destroyer simply came apart, its reactor containment breached by a lucky shot. Then the Vanguard was through, burning hard away from the chaos they'd created. Damage report! Derek shouted over the alarms. Banshee's gone, Nina said quietly. Warhawk took critical damage. She's venting atmosphere. Corvette Spitfire lost all weapons, but she's mobile. 3 ships damaged or destroyed. Against a fleet of 200. Derek checked the tactical display. The Velkaran spearhead was in disarray. Ships breaking formation, trying to track targets above and below, collision warnings blaring across their network. They'd expected a frontal assault or a retreat. Not this. Vanguard, tight spiral, Come around for another pass. Derek plotted the trajectory. We hit them from behind before they reform. Skipper, Frank said carefully. We just survived the impossible. Maybe we should count our blessings and establish a defensive perimeter. They need to stay confused. The second they organize, they'll steamroll us. Derek checked the countdown. Admiral Cross needs 14 more minutes. We keep them off balance. The Vanguard curved through space in a wide arc. Behind them, the Valkyrian fleet struggled to reorient. Their formation had been perfect for overwhelming force. Now it was a liability. Ships packed too tight to maneuver effectively. Derek opened the command channel. All ships, listen carefully. We're going to do something monumentally stupid. When we come around, I want everyone to target the same dreadnought, the big one, port side of their formation. Every weapon, every torpedo, everything we have left. That'll leave us dry, Commander Grant protested. That's the point. We hit them so hard in one spot, they think we're the main attack. They'll focus everything on us. Derek's voice was steady. And they won't see the real threat until it's too late. Understanding rippled through the Vanguard. They were bait. Expensive, deadly bait that had to look dangerous enough to draw the entire enemy fleet. Courageous bastards, all of you, Derek said. Let's make them remember why humans don't surrender. The Vanguard completed their arc and dove back toward the Valkyrian fleet. Every weapon capacitor charged. Every torpedo locked on target. 13 ships against 200, flying straight into hell with their eyes wide open. The Valkyrian dreadnought filled Derek's view screen. Massive, ancient, powerful enough to crack a planet. Fire. The dreadnought's shields lit up like a dying star. Torpedoes hammered against the energy barrier in rapid succession, each detonation weakening the field. Railgun slugs followed, punching through the deteriorating shield at velocities that turned metal into plasma. The shield collapsed. Human weapons tore into the dreadnought's armor. Explosions rippled across its hull. Secondary detonations bloomed from ammunition stores and fuel lines. The massive warship listed to port, trailing debris and frozen atmosphere. But it didn't die. All Valkyrian vessels are converging on our position, Nina shouted. Energy signatures spiking across the board. They're preparing a coordinated volley. Derek checked his chronometer. 9 minutes until the battle group arrived. 9 minutes they didn't have. Evasive maneuvers, full scatter. Don't give them a group target. He pushed the Reaper's edge into a violent corkscrew pattern. How long until they can fire? 30 seconds. Not enough time to escape effective range. Not enough distance to matter. The entire Valkyrian fleet was pivoting toward the Vanguard. Nearly 200 ships preparing to erase 13 human vessels from existence. Derek's mind raced. They'd done their job, drew the enemy's attention, disrupted their formation, bought time. Dying now wouldn't buy any more. All ships, emergency jump on my coordinates. He transmitted a location 300,000 kilometers spinward, simultaneous execution in 10 seconds. Skipper, our jump drives need 2 minutes to cycle, Kyle protested. Then we get creative. Dump all power from weapons and life support into the drive. One jump, that's all we need. One jump with an unstable drive could tear us apart. Definitely beats getting vaporized. Derek locked in the coordinates. All Vanguard vessels confirm ready status. One by one, the remaining ships acknowledged. Some hesitated. None refused. The Valkyrian volley launched. Hundreds of energy beams converged on the Vanguard's position. Enough firepower to sterilize a moon. Jump! Space twisted. Reality bent. The Reaper's edge screamed as her jump drive activated without proper initialization. Warning klaxons wailed. The hull groaned under impossible stress. Then They were elsewhere. Derek's stomach lurched as normal space reasserted itself. Around him, 12 other ships materialized in various states of distress. Corvette Spitfire appeared sideways, her stabilizers completely offline. Frigate Thunderhead emerged trailing sparks from a blown power coupling, but they were alive. "Status," Derek barked. "Jump drive is slag," Kyle reported. "We're not doing that again, ever. Hull integrity at 60%. Weapons offline. Shields at minimum. Same across the Vanguard," Nina added. "We're effectively toothless." Derek studied the tactical display. The Velkarin fleet was already adjusting, burning toward their new position. They had maybe 4 minutes before the enemy closed to weapons range again, and the human battle group was still 5 minutes out. "Nina, open a channel to Admiral Cross." Encrypted, Victoria's face appeared, tight with concern. "Commander, sensors show you're in rough shape. We're done as a fighting force, Admiral. Bought you what time we could." Derek pulled up the fleet positions. "But the Velkara are adapting. They're not falling for the same trick twice." "I'm aware. What's your assessment?" Derek zoomed in on the enemy formation. They'd abandoned the tight spearhead, spreading into a more flexible attack pattern. Smart, harder to disrupt, better firing solutions. Then he noticed something. The damaged dreadnought had fallen behind the main fleet. Not by much, but enough, and 6 cruisers had broken off to escort it, protecting their wounded flagship. "They're protecting damaged assets instead of abandoning them," Derek said. "It's slowing their advance." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "You're thinking we can exploit that. If we can damage more ships without destroying them, force them to commit escorts." Derek trailed off, thinking, "They value their vessels. It's why they retreat when losses mount. They're not willing to sacrifice units the way humans are. Cultural weakness masked as honor." Victoria nodded slowly. "We need to hit them hard enough to cripple, not kill. Force them into a defensive posture. The Vanguard's weapons are offline. We can't do it." "You don't need weapons, Commander." Victoria's smile was predatory. "You just need to make them think you do. How much maneuvering thrust do you have left?" Derek checked the power reserves. "Enough for maybe 20 minutes of hard burn." "Then here's what we're going to do." Victoria transmitted a data package. "I'm sending you firing solutions for the battle group's opening salvo. You're going to broadcast those solutions on an open channel, unencrypted, exactly 3 minutes before we arrive." Derek scanned the data, precision targeting coordinates, damage probabilities, weapon assignments, everything the Belkara would need to know exactly where and how the human fleet planned to strike. "You want me to give away our battle plan? I want you to give away a battle plan. One designed to make them shift formation to defend against threats that won't materialize." Victoria leaned forward. "While their repositioning based on false intelligence will hit them where they're actually vulnerable. But it only works if they believe the leak is genuine. They'll believe it if it comes from me." Derek understood. The reckless commander who already broke protocol once today. "They'll think I'm desperate, trying to coordinate with the fleet, but too stupid to encrypt properly."
Exactly.
"And when they adjust their formation, they'll expose their flanks to our real attack vector." Victoria paused. "This requires you to stay close enough to the enemy fleet to make the transmission believable, within their weapons range, with no shields and no guns, with your engines and your nerve." Victoria's voice softened. "I'm asking you to paint a target on your back one more time." Derek looked at his crew. Amanda with her injured arm, Kyle held together by painkillers and spite, Frank and Nina running on fumes and adrenaline. They'd followed him through hell twice already tonight. Crew vote, Derek said. Anyone wants out, say so now. No judgment. Silence. Then Amanda. Let's finish this. Derek turned back to Victoria. Send the false coordinates, Admiral. We'll make sure they hear every word. The Vanguard limped toward the Valkyrian fleet on minimal thrust, looking exactly like what they were. Broken ships trying to stay mobile. Derek positioned the Reaper's Edge at the formation's center, making her the most visible target. Nina, prep the transmission. I want it to sound panicked, like we're rushing and forgot basic security protocol. Derek adjusted their heading, angling closer to the enemy. Add some static, make it seem like our comm system took damage. On it, Nina's fingers flew across her console, adding periodic dropouts and distortion. Should sound authentic. The Valkyrian fleet closed to 300,000 kilometers, well within firing range. Derek could see their weapon batteries tracking the Vanguard, waiting for orders to fire. 2 minutes until the battle group arrives, Frank announced. Valkyra are holding fire. They're curious about what we're doing. Let's give them something to be curious about. Derek nodded to Nina. Broadcast the fake coordinates. Full spectrum, no encryption. Make it look accidental. Nina activated the transmission. Static crackled across the channel, her voice breaking up as planned. All battle group vessels. This is Reaper's Edge, receiving targeting coordinates from flagship. Threat assessment shows primary vulnerability in enemy formation grid 7 Alpha through 9 Charlie. Recommend concentrated fire on those vectors. Flagship confirms main assault will focus shields forward. Advance on heading 270 Mark 18. She cut the transmission abruptly, as if realizing the mistake. Perfect, Derek said. Now we wait and see if they bite. The Valkyrian fleet's formation began shifting almost immediately. Ships repositioned to reinforce the grid coordinates Nina had mentioned. Dreadnoughts angled their heavy armor toward the approach vector she'd specified. Their entire tactical posture adjusted to counter a threat that didn't exist. They bought it, Frank whispered. They're actually repositioning based on our fake intel. Their commanders are competent, Derek said. Competent enough to recognize valuable intelligence when they hear it. Too competent to realize we'd weaponize their competence against them. The chronometer ticked down. 90 seconds. The Valkyrian fleet continued adjusting, opening gaps in their formation to concentrate firepower where they expected the human attack. Skipper, they're locking weapons on us, Amanda warned. I think they're about to tie up loose ends before the battle group arrives. Hold position. Don't even look like we're preparing to evade. Derek gripped his armrests. We have to sell this completely. Energy signatures spiked across the Valkyrian fleet. Targeting solutions locked. Weapons capacitors reached full charge. 60 seconds. Multiple launches detected. Nina's voice climbed. Missiles incoming. 27, 34, 41. They're throwing everything at us. Derek watched the missiles accelerate toward the Vanguard. Brilliant dots of light against the black. Each one carrying enough explosive power to crack a corvette in half. 45 seconds. All Vanguard ships hold position, Derek commanded. Do not break formation. Do not activate countermeasures. Skipper, they'll hit us in 30 seconds, Frank protested. I know exactly when they'll hit. Derek's voice was ice. Trust the plan. The missiles screamed closer. Point defense systems screamed for activation. Every instinct demanded evasion. 30 seconds. Derek opened a private channel to Victoria. Admiral, I hope your timing is as good as your manipulation. It's better. Her voice carried absolute confidence. Stand by. The missiles were visible now on visual sensors, dozens of them, burning hard toward the helpless Vanguard. 15 seconds. Skipper, Kyle shouted. Hold. 10 seconds. Space tore open. 18 human warships dropped out of jump space directly between the Vanguard and the incoming missiles. not where the Velkara expected, not on the heading Nina had broadcast. They materialized in the gaps the enemy had opened, while repositioning their fleet. The Valiant's point defense grid activated instantly. Thousands of micro-projectiles filling space, the Belkaron missiles flew into a wall of precision fire and disintegrated, blooming into harmless clouds of shrapnel and fire. "All batteries fire," Victoria's voice rang across the command channel. The human battle group opened up at point-blank range, their weapons striking the Velkaran fleet's exposed flanks and rear sections. Torpedo spreads slammed into engine clusters. Railguns found ammunition stores. Laser batteries carved through shield generators, positioned to defend against attacks from the wrong direction. But Victoria's targeting priorities were surgical. Each shot carefully calibrated. Engines disabled, not destroyed. Weapons knocked offline, not vaporized. Ships crippled and set adrift, not annihilated. Within 90 seconds, 23 Velkaran vessels were tumbling dead in space, life support intact, crews alive, but completely combat ineffective. The Velkaran response was immediate. The entire fleet began decelerating, escorts breaking off to protect damaged ships. Exactly as Derek had predicted. "They're withdrawing," Frank said in disbelief. "They still outnumber us 3-1, and they're withdrawing. They can't afford the losses," Derek explained. "Every ship represents decades of construction, irreplaceable crews, cultural investment. We proved we can hurt them faster than they can hurt us." The mathematics changed. The Velkaran fleet continued its retreat, dragging disabled vessels with them, leaving the field to the humans. Victoria's face appeared on the main display. "All ships, hold position. Do not pursue. Let them go." Across the vanguard, exhausted cheers erupted. They'd survived. Impossible odds, suicide tactics, and they'd survived. Derek slumped in his chair, adrenaline finally draining. His hands shook. His vision blurred. Around him, his crew was laughing, crying, embracing. "Commander Kane," Victoria's voice cut through the celebration, "return to Station Garrison 7 for debriefing." "And Commander? Well done." The screen went dark. Frank turned to Derek, grinning. "So still think she humiliated you?" Derek thought about the champagne, the public shaming, the calculated cruelty that had set everything in motion. Victoria had destroyed his reputation to create the exact conditions needed for victory. She'd made the Velkara underestimate human resolve, overestimate their own advantage, and walk straight into a trap. She'd sacrificed his honor to save humanity. "Yeah," Derek said quietly, "and I'd let her do it again." Station Garrison 7's docking bay was packed. Word had spread fast. The vanguard that should have been annihilated had returned victorious. Crew members lined the observation deck, watching the battered ships limp home. Derek stepped off the Reaper's edge, expecting a medical team and maybe a disciplinary escort. Instead, he found Admiral Victoria Cross waiting at the bottom of the access ramp, flanked by the entire station command staff. She stood at attention, saluted. Derek froze. Derek, behind him, his crew stopped mid-step. "Commander Derek Kane," Victoria's voice carried across the silent bay. "On behalf of the unified human fleet, I extend formal recognition for extraordinary valor in combat. Your actions tonight prevented a war humanity could not have won." She approached, her expression unreadable. When she was close enough that only Derek could hear, she whispered, "I'm sorry for all of it. Don't be." Derek met her eyes. It worked. It shouldn't have had to. Victoria produced a small box. Inside, a medal Derek recognized, the Star of Terra, humanity's highest military honor. The Diplomatic Council wants to give you this publicly. Make a big ceremony of it. Cameras, speeches, alien witnesses, and you? I think you've had enough ceremonies for one day. She handed him the box. Your crew needs medical attention. You need sleep. The medal can wait. Derek nodded, bone-deep exhaustion finally hitting. What happens now? The Belcara won't forget this. No, but they'll respect it. Victoria gestured toward the observation deck, where dozens of alien diplomats had gathered. Half the galaxy watched us tonight. Saw humanity fight smarter, not just harder. Saw us win without glorifying slaughter. That matters more than any treaty. She turned to leave, then paused. The review board meets in 3 days. I'll be recommending you for promotion to captain. Your own ship, your own crew. Real authority. After you spent all night proving I ignore authority? Victoria smiled, genuine and warm. I proved you ignore stupidity. There's a difference. She started walking, then called back over her shoulder. Get some rest, Captain Kane. Something tells me we'll need that reckless brilliance of yours again soon. Derek watched her go, then looked down at the medal in his hands, the Star of Terra, given to those who changed the course of human history. He thought about champagne dripping down his face, about flying into hell with empty guns, about trust built through humiliation and validated through fire. Skipper, Amanda appeared beside him, her arm freshly bandaged. You coming? Medical's threatening to sedate Kyle if he doesn't get checked out. Yeah. Derek pocketed the medal and followed his crew toward the medical bay. Behind them, the Reaper's Edge sat silent in her berth, scorched and broken, but undefeated. Across the station, in her private quarters, Victoria Cross composed a message to Fleet Command. The Belcara would be back eventually, probably with better tactics and harder questions. But tonight, humanity had proven something crucial. They could be humiliated, battered, pushed to the breaking point, and they would still find a way to win. She encrypted the message, sent it, and allowed herself one moment of satisfaction before planning for the next crisis. In the medical bay, Derek submitted to scans and injections while his crew swapped exaggerated stories of the battle. The doctors declared everyone battered but functional. No permanent damage. Frank appeared with contraband coffee from the station commissary. So, Captain Kane has a nice ring to it. Not captain yet, please. After tonight? Frank grinned. They'd make you admiral if you wanted it. Derek thought about that. About command responsibility and political maneuvering and everything that came with higher rank. About Victoria Cross carrying the weight of humanity's survival and making impossible choices. I'm good where I am, he said. Leading lunatics into certain death is complicated enough. The crew laughed, and Derek realized something important. Victoria had humiliated him before the galaxy to save humanity, but his crew had followed him into hell, not because of his reputation, but to spite it. That loyalty couldn't be faked or manufactured through medals and ceremonies. It had to be earned in fire. His comm blinked. Private message, no sender ID. Derek opened it. 4 words. Thank you. Sleep well. He smiled, deleted the message, and settled back to let the exhaustion finally take him. Outside, stars wheeled through the black. Somewhere in that vastness, the Belcaran fleet licked its wounds and reconsidered humanity's place in the galaxy. They'd come expecting weakness and found defiance, expected predictability and found chaos. They'd learned what every species eventually learned about humans. Underestimate them once, maybe. Twice was suicide. Derek Kane closed his eyes, the medal heavy in his pocket, his crew alive around him, and let himself drift. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new impossible odds. Tonight, humanity had won. and sometimes that was enough.